at Sprouts Farmers Market.
Went just 3 innings through 72 pitches, gave up 4 runs, 3 of them were earned, did strike out 5 and only walk 1, did not factor in the decision that day, but bounced back against the Oregon State Beavers in a big way as he was solid. 6 innings, 1 run it was earned, giving the Beavers just 5 hits, just scattering them along the way. 1 walk and 6 strikeouts for Matt Scott. So he's looking to build upon his perfect performance against Oregon State last week. Cardinal looking to build on a 4-game winning streak. Utah trying to take one from a top 10 team. Beautiful 56-degree afternoon as we are set to begin here from Sunken Diamond. Great to have you right here on board with us. Another day of pups at the park. We've got a few pooches here at Sunken Diamond. That's always great to see. And all sorts of other neat things happening at the park today, too. Of course, the main attraction is the game on the field. Dakota Duffalo leading things off for the Utes. Matt Scott rocks and deals. Away we go. The Cardinal and the Utes enjoy the game as the first pitch is fouled off behind us and off to our right. Dakota Duffalo, the redshirt sophomore from Mesa, Arizona, went 0 for 5 yesterday at the top of the Utes lineup. Scott rears back, fires, and misses up high. 1 ball and 1 strike. Duffalo slashing .219, .271, .313 with 1 home run and 5 RBI. 1 ball and 1 strike. There's that fastball, misses maybe just a little bit outside, 2-1. Scott with a good move, with a good fastball, also has a pretty tricky slider you have to deal with as well. Bit of an intimidating presence too, coming over the top. 2 balls and 1 strike. Up high, 3-1 to Duffalo. Duffalo stepping back in. Matt Scott stepping back on. 3 balls and 1 strike. Foul back, and the count full. Joe Burleson is the home plate umpire for today's game. Greg Charles at first, Bradley Hungerford at second, and Darren Hyman at third. Full count to Duffalo. Swing and a miss. Duffalo down on strikes. Scott taking a little something off of that one and getting Duffalo to chase. And that brings up Landon Fry. Fry slashing .268, .344, .341. 1 home run, 11 driven in. The team leader in at-bats and hits coming into today for Utah. Scott's first pitch, fastball, pops it right down the middle for strike 1. To Landon Fry, went 1 for 5 yesterday, and now has hits in 11 of his last 13 games. Popped up, could be playable. Moore and Graham giving chase. Graham, the first baseman, makes the grab in the ample foul territory here at Sunken Diamond. 2 away. Here comes TJ Clarkson. Clarkson has been the biggest and most consistent weapon in the Utes batting order so far this year. Clarkson slashing .288, .450, and .589. 6 home runs, 19 RBI. His next hit will be the 100th of his Ute career. Just a little bit high to Clarkson there for ball 1. Clarkson, the Utes leader in runs scored, doubles, home runs, RBI, total bases, slugging percentage, walks, and on-base percentage. 1-0. Fastball inside corner called, 1-1. Clarkson was the Pac-12 Player of the Week for March the 6th as he ripped up Texas A&M Corpus Christi. 2 home runs, 5 RBI, and he also got the win in relief against Texas A&M Corpus Christi that day. Swing and a miss. Big fastball, big cut. 1-2. Clarkson went by Trey and wore number 16 earlier in his career. That was the case the last time he was here in this building 2 years ago. The 1-2 from Scott. Up high. 2-2. That was a series 2 years ago in which the Utes took the middle game. But Stanford with wins in games 1 and 3 to take that set against the Utes 2 years ago here at Sunken. The 2-2. Swing and a miss, got him. 2 strikeouts for Matt Scott to begin. Utah 0, and Stanford coming to bat as we head to the bottom of the first. Let's get you the Stanford batting order, starting off with Eddie Park. Tommy Troy in the lineup, but as the DH for today, he is batting second. Carter Graham batting third. Braden Montgomery in the cleanup spot. Malcolm Moore batting fifth. Drew Bowser, what a day for him. In the field and at the plate yesterday. Bowser batting sixth. Alberto Rios, a big solo home run for him yesterday to tie things up in the bottom half of the eighth. Rios in the seventh spot. Trevor Haskins is in the lineup for today. He is batting eighth, and Owen Cobb rounds out Stanford's batting order. Defensively for Utah, as the Utes have taken the field in the outfield from left to right, Elijah Hamill, Dakota Duffalo, and TJ Clarkson. Around the horn, it's Landon Fry, Matt Flaherty, Brewer Webster, Jaden Kiernan, Davis Kopp behind the dish. And pitching for the Utah Utes is a redshirt junior out of Eagle Mountain, Utah. His name's Bryson Van Sickle, making his 9th appearance and his second start of the season. Has a 2-1 record and a 3.48 ERA. 20 2/3 innings pitched, 23 hits, 9 runs, 8 of them earned, 5 walks, 20 strikeouts. Opposing batters hitting .283. Van Sickle has hurled 1 wild pitch and hit 3 batters along the way. In Van Sickle's last outing, that came against Arizona State on Sunday of last week, went 5 shutout innings, 4 hits, 4 strikeouts, and got the win. So somewhat of a shake-up and a move around for Gary Henderson, the Utah head coach, and also doubles as the Utes pitching coach as well, as he's trying to find a bit more stability and a bit more production, and a bit more consistency from his starting pitching. May have found a slight answer yesterday in Ernesto Lugo Conchola, who, after giving up 3 runs in the bottom of the second inning yesterday, really clamped down, retired the next 9 batters that he faced, dealt 7 strikeouts, and went a career-long 5 innings pitched. So Lugo Conchola really doing a lot of the things I'm sure Gary Henderson wanted him to do throughout. Of course, unfortunately for the Utes, the bullpen faltered at the end. Micah Ashman serving up the game-winning home run to Drew Bowser, with Zach McCleve getting the loss. So the bullpen has done its share of good work for Utah. Starting pitching, somewhat hit or miss at times. Can the Utes figure that out? Or can Stanford get a more consistent effort offensively today than it did yesterday? Those answers forthcoming, starting now, beginning with Eddie Park. Park, the junior from San Jose, striding up to the plate. Eddie Park slashing .318, .368, .447 with 2 home runs and 22 driven in. He leads Stanford with 85 at-bats and 27 hits on the season. Lefty on lefty, Van Sickle to Park, low and away for ball 1. Eddie Park 0 for 4 yesterday, but drove in a run as part of that 3-run second inning for the Cardinal yesterday. A 1-0. Swing and a miss. Park fooled a little bit on the low pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike. Van Sickle, last year for the Utes, 3-0 with a 4.99 ERA, made 15 appearances. Slow roller and a long throw, not in time. Bit of an excuse me swing of sorts from Eddie Park, and it just got enough on it to slow things down for Brewer Webster, who tried to make the throw. A valiant effort by him, but Park well safe by several steps. And the Cardinal on board with a leadoff infield single. Tommy Troy, the DH for this game. He's a junior from Los Gatos, California. Troy went 2 for 4 yesterday. Pops this one up. It's twisting and slicing and will land well in the stands for strike one. Troy on the season, slashing .358, .477, .604, 2 home runs, 11 RBI, has a team-high 2 triples. Throw back to first. Fairly close for Eddie Park, who is 2 for 3 on stolen bases so far this season. Van Sickle to the plate, off the fist, into shallow center, coming in Duffalo, and he can't get there in time. Park heads over to third, and Troy slides into second. So back-to-back singles to begin the game for the Cardinal. And Stanford in business in the early going. So runners at second and third with nobody out. Which brings up Carter Graham. Went 0 for 5, had an 8-game hit streak snapped yesterday. Overall in the season, Graham slashing .219, .341, and .356. 2 home runs and 15 driven in. Tough start for his season, but he has exhibited diligence and perseverance, according to David Esker. He was rewarded with an 8-game hit streak that was snapped yesterday. Back up the middle, right to Webster. His only plays over to first. Gets the out there, but Stanford happily trades it for the run. Cardinal up 1-0. So Park comes across after the RBI ground out from Carter Graham. And Braden Montgomery steps into the box. Montgomery, the sophomore from Madison, Mississippi, slashing .400, .544, .800. 7 home runs, 19 RBI. That one a hot shot down the line, but foul. Third base umpire Darren Hyman had to get some happy feet to get out of the way of that one. Called the hot corner for a reason. Montgomery 1 for 3 yesterday, but that one hit was a big one. It was a single in the bottom of the 9th inning. That helped pave the way for Drew Bowser's heroics. Low and inside from Van Sickle, 1-1. Montgomery with a career-high 4 hits against Cal State Bakersfield back on March the 4th. 1-1, curve from Van Sickle, drops in there, strike 2. And Montgomery, of course, one of the better two-way players you're going to find in the country. Also super talented on the mound. Has already appeared in 4 games so far this year. Has won one of them. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Up high, 2-2 to Montgomery. Back. Utah saw both sides of Montgomery last year. Braden went 3 for 10 with an RBI. Last season in Salt Lake, also threw 2 scoreless and struck out 3 on May 14th of last year at Smith's Ballpark. The 2-2 pitch. Golfed down the left field line. Fair ball. Troy scores. And Montgomery keeps it rolling. The Cardinal now lead 2-0. Montgomery fighting off that pitch and just plunking it down in shallow left. And Stanford has put 2 across. And Malcolm Moore coming to the plate. Moore, the freshman from Sacramento, slashing .303, .376, .579 with 5 home runs and 15 RBI. Leads the Stanford squad with 6 doubles. Van Sickle playing games with Montgomery at first. Moore, a bit of a tough day yesterday. 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. He'd only struck out 4 times in the first 14 games of the season. That pitch dropped in there by Van Sickle for a called strike 1. As Van Sickle goes off speed to Moore. Beautiful day at Sunken Diamond. And Sickle is ready. Curve, misses upstairs, 1-1. 335 down the lines, 375 to the alleys, 400 straightaway center. Outfield fences, 10 feet high. One of the more scenic facilities and venues in all of college baseball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Montgomery dancing around at first. This one's hit to right field, coming in. Clarkson, it gets down in front of him for a base hit. 4 hits, all singles for the Cardinals so far in the bottom of the first. And here comes Drew Bowser. Bowser, the junior from Los Angeles, Harvard Westlake High School. Bowser slashing 288, 382, 576 with 4 home runs and 13 RBI. That 4th home run was a big one as it gave Stanford a victory yesterday against the Utes. A 2-run shot high into the trees in left field. He has 2 on here with 1 out. Bowser goes around here, strike 1. Bowser with the 2-run home run to walk it off. Also made 2 critical plays, a leaping grab right behind the second base bag to prevent Utah from tying it in the 7th inning, and another nifty play in the 8th inning to keep the Utes at bay. And he goes around again, 0-2. And that was coming off of a series in which Bowser's appearances were cut short because he was tossed from Game 2 of the series against Oregon State and had to serve his 1-game suspension as a result of that ejection. This one is hit on the ground to second, flip to short for 1, throw to first in time for the 4-6-3 double play. But Stanford plates a couple, and they take an early 2-0 lead after 1 over the Utes. Sunny skies with the exception of a couple puffy cotton clouds above the foothills behind the Stanford campus. 56 degrees as we begin this one. A beautiful day. So far, Stanford fans enjoying the scenery. And as of right now, the scoreboard. Cardinal lead the Utah Utes 2-0. Second game of this Pac-12 baseball series. A Saturday, Sunday, Monday affair because this past week was finals week here at Stanford. So this series will wrap up tomorrow. First pitch, 12:05 p.m. We, of course, will be here to bring you that one right here on pac-12.com and gostanford.com. Looking forward to it. Join us for it, will you? Middle of the order for the Utah Utes to appear in the second inning as Jaden Kiernan fouls off the first pitch that he sees for strike 1. Kiernan, a fifth-year senior from Corona, California, hitting .370 with no home runs and 8 RBI. And Kiernan was unstoppable yesterday, 4 for 4 and drove in a run. Fouls this one off, 0-2. Kiernan, as mentioned, with 8 runs driven in so far this season. All 8 RBI have come in the last 4 games. He's had good success against the Cardinal in his career. And adding on to it here, he's 5 for 5 this weekend so far. Smacked solidly back up the middle. That Scott had to duck. So Kiernan aboard with the leadoff single. As Kiernan now with 12 hits in his career against the Cardinal in 7+ games played. Davis Kopp, for a moment, appeared to be the man of the hour for the Utes. As it turned out, he was about the man for about a half hour or so before Stanford came back and ended up winning the game. Kopp, a junior from Valencia, California, transferred from Gateway CC, sends this one into left field on the first pitch that he sees. So back-to-back singles. Kiernan, now at second, and Kopp. Kopp going into that plate appearance, slashing .235, .319, .383. Of course, those numbers going up now. And bringing up Cameron Gurney. Did not appear yesterday, but the lefty appearing as a DH for the Utes today, and he enters this series on a 4-game RBI streak. Gurney with a team-best .328 batting average. Rest of his slash line is .411 and .459 with 2 home runs and 12 RBI. Runners at first and second and nobody out. Fastball fired low and away for ball 1. Utes wasting very little time. Getting a couple of guys on base. Gurney, a freshman from Scotland, Ontario. One of a couple of Canadians on this team. Another one is on deck for the Utes, Elijah Hamill. Runners are first and second, nobody out. Matt Scott deals. Tries down low and misses 2-0. Or keeping it in front of him. Kiernan at second, Kopp at first. Both of them single. Hit to second on a hop to Haskins. Throw to short for 1. Throw back over to first in time for the out. Haskins was right there. He barely had to move. And he started off the 4-6-3 double play. Meanwhile, Kiernan advances over to third. So a runner still in scoring position for the Utes. For Elijah Hamill to try to drive in, but now Utah with 2 outs on the board. Hamill, a redshirt freshman from Oakville, Ontario. Slashing .219, .333, .328. Fastball down low from Scott for ball 1. Hamill with 1 home run and 13 RBI on the season. Went 0 for 4 yesterday, but still drove in a run on a ground out. Swings and misses. 1 ball and 1 strike. Matt Scott, the Gatorade Player of the Year from the state of Connecticut last year. 1 ball, 1 strike. Tries down low and misses. 2-1 to Hamill. Reading, Connecticut, which is just outside of Danbury, which is in the western part of the state. Not quite my old stomping grounds, as I worked for some media company that's based out of Bristol, Connecticut for a few years. 2 balls and 1 strike. Off the fist, bending towards Cobb. He's up with it. Throws to first. Graham keeps his foot on the bag, and the side is retired. Back-to-back singles to open the inning, but the Utes can't do anything with it. 2-0 Stanford. Bottom second in a moment. Bottom second, Stanford up on Utah 2-0. Gorgeous afternoon here on the farm. It's always sunny at Stanford, right? Alberto Rios striding up to the plate. Rios, a junior from Bellflower, California. Rios on the year slashing .368, .456, .647. 5 home runs, 25 RBI. He actually leads Stanford with 25 RBI. Then again, when you drive in 11 in one game, chances are pretty good you're going to be at or near the top of your team's leaderboard in the RBI category. Bryson Van Sickle about to deal the 1-0 pitch. Fastball just misses. 2-0 to Rios, whose solo home run in the bottom of the 8th yesterday tied things up at 4 apiece. Rios coming up in a big spot. Breaking ball tails outside, 3-0. Rios ahead in the count. Three balls and no strikes. And Rios walks on 4 pitches. Just the 6th walk issued by Van Sickle this year versus 20 strikeouts. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Even though the overall team numbers for the Utah pitching staff aren't that impressive, they are impressive in the strikeout to walk ratio. It was 2.59, 5th in the Pac-12 entering this week. As Trevor Haskins steps up to the plate, shows bunt, pushes it, but foul down the first baseline for strike 1. Haskins, a sophomore from San Jose, missed the first 12 games of the season due to a non-COVID illness. He's back in the mix. Only 1 base hit for him so far this season. That was an RBI single against Oregon State on March 17th. No balls and 1 strike. Off the fist, fouled towards the visitors' bullpen, and Haskins down quickly, 0-2. Utah did strike out 13 Stanford batters yesterday. Walked only 5. So, building upon that trend, no balls and 2 strikes. And a throw back to first with Alberto Rios hovering in that general area. The 0-2 from Van Sickle to Haskins. Back up the middle, sliding grab, shovel to second for 1, throw to first in time for the out. Well handled, Brewer Webster. Slick fielding. And it results in our third 4-6-3 double play of this game. Bottom of the order for the Cardinal, Owen Cobb. Senior from Seattle, went 2 for 4 with an RBI yesterday. Cobb slashing .329, .354, .493. 2 home runs and 14 RBI. And you can add to his hit total as he puts that one down into left field for a base hit. Inning extended, and the lineup turned over as Eddie Park comes back up to the plate. Cobb continues to do his job at the bottom of the order. Eddie Park with an infield single in the bottom half of the first. Later came around to score on an RBI groundout by Carter Graham. Van Sickle deals, and that one is under Kiernan's glove into right field for a base hit. Owen Cobb being given the green light. He's coming around third. Here comes the throw. Cobb is safe. Cobb hustling around from first had the green light the whole way. And the Cardinal take a 3-0 lead. shot right to Kieran at first. Just couldn't get his glove down in time to get a piece of it. Rolled into right field, and Owen Cobb just kept rolling right home from first. Eddie Park with the RBI double. Tommy Troy singled and scored in the first. Off the fist, in the air, foul territory, but too far away for Kieran to try to get it. Strike one on Troy. One time through the order for Van Sickle. Did fire 7 first pitch strikes, but also gave up 5 base hits. Fly ball to right. Going back Clarkson. Shy of the track. He makes the grab, and the side is retired. Kartak on another one. An RBI double by Eddie Park makes it 3-0 Stanford after 2. Top third about to begin here at Sunken Diamond. Stanford with a 3-0 lead over the Utah Utes. Troy Clarity here, pac-12.com and GoStanford.com. Thanks for being here with us, no matter where you are checking in from. Matt Scott working his way through the Utah order for the first go-around. Right now he's at the 8th spot with Matt Flaherty, a redshirt freshman from Rancho Santa Margarita. Flaherty batting .333, no home runs, 3 RBI. Big righty deals. Fastball up and out for ball 1. Back-to-back singles for Utah in the second inning by Kiernan and Kopp. But then Gurney hit into a 4-6-3 double play. So far, 4, 6, and 3 have been the key numbers in this game. Fastball up high again, 2-0 to Flaherty, who went 0 for 4 yesterday. Flaherty had been on a 6 for 6 clip entering this series. That came to a stop yesterday when he went 0 for 4. The 2-0. Fastball trying the inside corner and gets the call from Joe Burleson, 2-1. Scott can rear back and put some mustard on that. Fastball, a good slider, too. The 2-1. Gets the call again, 2-2. Has that fastball in the low 90s, slider in the mid 80s. The 2-2 from Scott. Waves at it and gets him swinging. Well, that's what happens when you can change speeds, and we saw certainly all those things from Matt Scott in that plate appearance. Fastballs and then cross him up with the change. Third strikeout of the afternoon for Scott. Bottom of the Utah order is Brewer Webster. a junior from Idaho Falls, Idaho, transferred from Salt Lake, CC. Webster slashing 235, 366, 265. Pumped right down palm drive for called strike one. Webster 3 for 4 yesterday. One of the quieter 3 for 4s that I can remember. Looking back over the box scores and those sorts of things this morning, I was like, wait, really? 3 for 4? Oh, yeah, that's right, he did. This one hit in the air to right, going over Montgomery. He's got a beat on it, and he makes the catch. So back to the top of the order we go. Dakota Duffalo struck out swinging in the first. As Duffalo comes to the plate to face Matt Scott. There's 5 first pitch strikes dealt by Scott, first time through the order. Now he's 6 for 10 in that category. Scott ready. The 0-1. Goes upstairs with it. 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, in your men's basketball tournament bracket, raise your hand if you had San Diego State and Florida Atlantic as part of your national semifinal. Now put it down because you're lying. The 1-1. Fastball down low. 2-1. But San Diego State sweating it out and getting the win today to advance to the Final Four, the men's Final Four in Houston, where they will face Florida Atlantic. How about that? 2 balls and 1 strike. Moore tried to frame it on the outside corner, doesn't get the call, and the count goes to 3-1. So a couple of mid-majors. Congrats to the Owls. Congrats to the Aztecs. Well, that could be a big result for San Diego State in a lot of ways. Duffalo looks at strike 2, and now he has to go back and get his bat because he thought it was ball 4. Umpires tend to not like that. So the full count to Duffalo. And the payoff pitch from Scott. Got him. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Matt Scott rears back and deals his 4th strikeout of the afternoon. 2.5 innings in, Stanford up 3-0. Stanford leading Utah 3-0 as we begin the bottom of the 3rd. Cardinal with 2 in the bottom of the 1st. RBI ground out by Carter Graham. RBI single by Braden Montgomery. And adding 1 more in the bottom of the 2nd on an RBI double by Eddie Park. Speaking of Carter Graham, he begins this half inning for the Cardinal with that RBI ground out underneath his belt. Facing Bryson Van Sickle. As that one's cracked into left field for a base hit past a diving Landon Fry. Well, Graham has wasted no time. Both of his plate appearances, he's seen a grand total of 2 pitches. So even though Graham had an 8-game hit streak snapped yesterday, he's hoping that he just started another one here today. Braden Montgomery with the RBI single in the first. First pitch outside. Ball 1 from Van Sickle. Well, so far, Stanford has had the leadoff batter reach in every inning in this game. A 1-0 on a couple of hops to Flaherty. Throw to second for 1. Throw to first. Just beat the throw there. So Montgomery safe at first, but Graham erased at second. 1 gone. Malcolm Moore singled in the first. Those erased on an inning-ending 4-6-3 double play. Alberto Rios led off the second with a walk, but he was taken out on a 4-6-3 double play. So the middle infielders have been busy so far for both teams in this one. Montgomery scampers back over to first. It was 56 degrees as we began this one. Slight breeze, looks like it's blowing out to center. Perfect playing conditions. Curve. Gets the high strike call from Burleson. 0-1 to Moore. Of course, the weather has been just downright rotten at points throughout the past few weeks. And it's going to take a turn again here on Tuesday from the looks of it. The 0-1, curveball off the fist, bounces foul, 0-2. Not just the rain, but the wind that we've had in the Bay Area accompanying those storms. Took a walk around campus yesterday, and there are more than a few tree groves around campus that are roped off because they're working on clearing out trees that have been downed, chopping them up, all those sorts of things. And out on Middlefield Road, there's a house with a tree that's split the house in 2. So certainly some very damaging storms here in the Bay Area over the last few weeks. The 0-2 and the throw back to first. The weather is supposed to turn again on Tuesday morning. Weather should not be a factor for the series finale here tomorrow afternoon with the first pitch at 12:05 p.m. here at Sunken Diamond. So that shouldn't be an issue for tomorrow. Good thing Stanford isn't playing on Tuesday. That might have been an issue. That one is hitting to right field. And hustling around, actually Montgomery took a wide turn and now has to scamper to get back to second and just avoid the tag from Flaherty. Boy, Montgomery took a big turn and almost paid the price with a quick throw from Clarkson to make things a bit more excitable than they probably should have been on that play. Gary Henderson is up and out of the Utah dugout and making a slow walk. I don't see any action over in the Utah bullpen. So it's probably just an opportunity for Gary Henderson to settle his pitcher down, as Van Sickle has already given up 8 base hits in 2 1/3 innings worth of work. And nothing big, just one of those base hits of the extra base variety, the RBI double by Eddie Park, but everything else has been singles. It's been Stanford chipping away and eventually putting runs on the board as we go. Henderson in his second year as Utah's head coach. Spent 2 years as the associate head coach under Bill Kinneberg at Utah before taking the top job. Before that, though, Henderson, interim head coach at Mississippi State in 2018, and was the Kentucky head coach from 2009 to 2016. And along the way, he was named SEC head coach in 2012. Henderson, as we've mentioned, also doubles as Utah's pitching coach. Drew Bowser stepping up. He hit into a 4-6-3 inning-ending double play in the first. Runners at first and second with one out. Montgomery at second, Moore at first. Bowser at the plate. Swings and misses. The fastball tailing low and away for strike one from Van Sickle. Van Sickle spent time with the San Luis Obispo Blues of the California Collegiate League. Anytime you can spend time in slow, that's a good move. Swings and misses, nothing in two. Great spot, San Luis Obispo. Awesome place. Avila Beach just down the road, Pismo Beach just a couple miles further down. Paso Robles, Tascadero. Great spot. Big fan. The 0-2. Thought about it. Didn't go for it. And the count goes to 1-2. That pitch misses outside. Van Sickle with the 1-2 pitch. Straight up and twisting towards the Stanford dugout. Kieran with a long way to go, but he gets there, twists back, and hangs on to make the grab. And actually, as I say that, and I look back over at the flags, a bit more of a breeze now than there was just a couple minutes ago. So perhaps that breeze that was blowing out to left, kicking up a bit and making things a bit more difficult for Kieran. But he's able to hang on and make the grab. Alberto Rios with a leadoff walk to begin the second. 2 gone, bottom third. Stanford up 3-0 with Montgomery at second and Moore at first. Goes outside. 1 ball and no strikes to Rios as the pitch was quite low as well. Montgomery at second. He reached on a fielder's choice. Malcolm Moore at first. He singled. Breeze has died down for a moment. 1 ball, no strikes. Same pitch, same result, even though that one's a bit higher up, but not quite to Joe Burleson's liking. 2-0 to Rios. Van Sickle with 40 strikes thrown so far, 40 pitches rather thrown so far in this one. 2 balls, no strikes. And now 3-0 to Rios. Three balls and no strikes. Van Sickle deals. And that's low. Once again, Rios walks on 4 pitches. Trevor Haskins grounded into a 4-6-3 double play in the second inning. Haskins limited playing time last year. Just 3 for 8 on the season in 2022 with a home run and 6 RBI. But of course, his biggest hit came in the postseason. Bases loaded. Off the fists, heading towards right. Clarkson on the run makes the grab. So the Cardinal leave him loaded. But Stanford still leads 3-0 after 3. No runs, 2 hits, no errors for the Utah Utes. 3 runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Stanford Cardinal as we begin the 4th inning. Great to have you with us, Troy Clarity, on pack-12.com and GoStanford.com. Matt Scott, the Cardinal starter, has retired the last 5 batters that he has faced. The 2, 3, 4 batters due up for the Utes here in this frame, starting with Landon Fry, who swings and misses at the first pitch for strike 1. Slider from Scott. Fry fouled out to first. Back in the first. The 0-1 pitch from Scott. Cracked back up the middle. Cobb heads over and throws over the first for the out. Cobb has been superbly reliable at short this season. And has also backed it up at the plate as well, which has really helped him solidify the opportunities that he's been able to receive this year, opportunities that hadn't been there for him before. TJ Clarkson struck out swinging to end the first. One is a bit outside for ball 1. Clarkson reached in 38 straight games last year. One ball and no strikes to Clarkson. Fly ball center field. Park. Got it. 2-gun. So 2 pitches to retire Fry. 2 pitches to retire Clarkson. Jaden Kiernan with a leadoff single in the 2nd inning. And the first pitch from Scott to Kiernan. Fouled back. 0-1. Kiernan has just 1 home run in his career. It came at USC in April of last season. The 0-1. Fouled off again. Kiernan quickly down 0-2. Kiernan 4 for 4 yesterday, 1 for 1 so far today. He's looking to try to keep that going. The 0-2 from Scott. Moore tried to frame it, but that pitch was perhaps a bit high, 1-2. Kiernan was one of the guys that David Esker certainly had his eye on when sizing up the Utes and their batting order. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And there's Jaden Kiernan's 6th base hit of the weekend. My goodness. 4 for 4 yesterday, 2 for 2 so far today. Davis Kopp striding to the plate. He singled in the 2nd. Later erased as part of a 4-6-3 double play. With Kiernan at first. Utah's 3rd base hit of the afternoon. The first pitch to Kopp bounces wildly away from Moore. Kiernan holds up at 2nd. So Kiernan takes 90 feet on the wild pitch. 5th wild pitch dealt by Scott this season. One ball and no strikes. It's a fastball up in the zone for strike 1. Stanford's team pitching numbers, not that impressive coming into the series. In fact, their team whip, that's walks and hits per inning pitched, 1.5, 10th in the Pac-12 entering this week's action. Fastball misses down low, 2-1. So Cardinal next to last in the conference as of Friday morning in whip. And coming into this series, Stanford had struck out an average of 11 batters per game, second in the Pac-12, which is pretty impressive. But considering that Stanford's strikeout to walk ratio coming into the series was almost literally 2-1, that makes it even more remarkable. The 2-1. Misses a little high, misses a little outside as well, 3-1. So, yes, Stanford has been able to strike guys out, but walks at times have been a bit of an issue. Wild pitch here, hit batter there. Gotten Stanford into problems at times. The 3-1 bounces away, and Kiernan heads over to third, while Kopp takes first on the walk. So after getting 2 outs on 4 pitches, a single, a walk, and now the Utes have a runner in scoring position. And we're starting to see shades of how yesterday's game went a little bit, as Stanford took an early 3-0 lead, but started having trouble pushing guys across as they left the bases loaded in the 5th, 2 more in the 6th, and 2 more in the 7th, and that allowed Utah to creep back into it yesterday. Stanford leaving the bases loaded in the bottom of the 3rd. Utah trying to take advantage here with runners at the corners and 2 out, and the lefty DH Cameron Gurney at the plate. Fastball is in there, called strike 1 to Gurney, who grounded into a double play in the 2nd inning. Well, and these are the kinds of situations that David Esker and Kathy Wolf, assistant coach, pitching coach Thomas Eager, want to see Matt Scott get his way out of. That's up high for ball 1 to even out the count. It'll be nice if pitchers are mowing guys down every time out, but you also want to see what happens when things hit a bit of a rough patch, especially the younger pitchers. Fastball blocked by Moore, no one going anywhere. 2-1. And you might remember, I relayed this during the show yesterday, talking to David Esker and getting his thoughts on the season so far. He told me, quote, predictably, we're not there yet. But he also said that he was okay with it, because that means there's a lot of growth for the squad going forward. The 2-1. In the air to center, Park going back, reaches up, makes the running grab, and hangs on for the out. Eddie Park keeps the Utes at bay and preserves Stanford's 3-0 lead. Utah 90 feet away from getting on the board, but the defense preventing that. And Stanford up by 3, heading to the bottom of the 4th. Well, Utah with a chance to get on the board, but a running, reaching grab by Eddie Park in center, preventing that and keeping it a 3-0 Cardinal lead. Bottom of the fourth inning begins with Owen Cobb, who singled on the very first pitch he saw from Bryson Van Sickle back in the second. Later came around to score on Eddie Park's RBI double. First pitch, a fastball a bit low to Cobb for ball one from Van Sickle. Other scores from around the Pac-12. Here in the top of the seventh on the Jackie Robinson Stadium. Washington and UCLA tied at 3. Cobb ruled to have gone around by first base umpire Greg Charles. UCLA perhaps with the most consistent season of any Pac-12 team so far this year. 1 ball, 1 strike. Down the line, backhanded by Fry. A long throw to first. Got him. Takes us back to the top of the Cardinal order with Eddie Park. Singled and scored in the first, RBI double in the second. So already an eventful afternoon for Eddie Park. Bottom sixth up in Corvallis, Cal and Oregon State tied at 1 apiece. Bears actually beat the Beavers 2-1 yesterday to split the first 2 games of that series. As Park shows bunt, pitch goes low and outside for ball 1 to Park. So the winner of that one in Corvallis today wins the series. That would be an intriguing result if Cal was able to come away with that one. 1 ball, no strikes to Park, who waits on it. Appeal to third base umpire Darren Hyman. He says, nope, all good. 2 balls, no strikes. The count to Park. Another Pac-12 conference game in progress. Bottom of the fourth in LA. USC leading Washington State 3-1. On a hop to first, shovel to Van Sickle. 2 gone. Brings up Tommy Troy. Troy singled and scored in the first, flew out to right in the second. Final from earlier today, Oregon hammering Northwestern State 13-3 in non-conference action. First pitch from Van Sickle, low and blocked by Davis Kopp, the Utah catcher. 1 ball, no strikes. Arizona State closes out today's Pac-12 action. That gets going at 4 p.m. down in Phoenix. A 1-0. Comes back inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Arizona State actually on top of the Pac-12 standings entering today with a 4-1 conference record. A 1-1. Fastball misses, perhaps inside 2-1. UCLA and USC tied for second at 6-2, and then you've got Stanford at 5-2 entering today. 2 balls, 1 strike to Troy. Low and inside, 3-1. Washington Huskies entering today at 3-2. Oregon breaking even at 3-3 with no chance to work on that conference mark this weekend as they hosted Northwestern State. 3 balls, 1 strike. Swing and miss on the fastball, 3-2. And you've got Washington State, Arizona, each at 3-5. Utah in ninth at 2-5. Oregon State at 2-6. And Cal also at 2-6. That one is hit to left. Drop down for a base hit, a good rip that bounces towards the corner. And Tommy Troy on board with Stanford's ninth base hit of the afternoon and a double. So Troy 2 for 3. Fighting off the 3-2 pitch and just pulling it down the line. Carter Green with the leadoff single in the third. Also an RBI ground out in the first. Stanford has done reasonably well with 2 outs in this game. In fact, their third run of the game came with 2 out. RBI double by Eddie Park. Too high from Van Sickle for ball 1. So, wow, it's strange enough to see Oregon State at the bottom of the conference standings, but that's where they are. And the team that does not win today's game in Corvallis has the bottom spot in the Pac-12 all to their lonesome. 1 ball, no strikes. Swing and a miss. Graham crossed up. Count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. Troy at second, 1 ball and 1 strike. Graham at the plate. Fouled off for 1 and 2. Stanford, of course, picked to win the Pac-12, as it did last season. Won the Pac-12 tournament down in the Valley of the Sun, fulfilling the expectations that folks had coming into the 2022 campaign, in which Stanford was picked to win the conference. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Runner going. Pitch inside. The throw to third. Safe. So Tommy Troy in safely. He's now 7 for 7 on stolen bases. Two balls, 2 strikes. And the pitch to Graham. Line outside, 3 and 2. Count full. With Troy at third. Van Sickle deals. Smacked to short. Flaherty, the throw to first. Gets him there, and the side is retired. Troy gets to third, but doesn't come across. And it remains a 3-0 ball game after 4. Three 0 Stanford with the lead. Top of the 5th, about to unfold. 7, 8, 9 batters due up for the Utes. Beginning with the switch hitter Elijah Hamill, who grounded out to short to finish the 2nd. Matt Scott, the Cardinal starter, still on the hill. 4 innings, 3 hits, shutout ball so far. 1 walk and 4 strikeouts. Off the fist, shallow left field. Coming in, Rios makes the grab. Well, Scott needed just 4 pitches to retire the first 2 batters he faced in the top of the 4th. He's just 1 to retire the first batter he faces here in the 5th. Now, after that, Scott ran into a bit of a spot, but was able to work his way out of it and got some help from his defense along the way. Eddie Park, a running, adjusting, leaping grab in center field to end the inning. That's what it takes. You tend to need help from your defense somewhere along the way. Matt Flaherty looks at strike 1. He struck out swinging to begin the 3rd. No balls, 1 strike. Outside corner called, 0-2. Scott painting the corners well. Appears to be hitting his spots for the most part. No balls and 2 strikes. Off the fist. Fly ball to left. Rios, 2-gun. And we've seen Scott effectively change speeds during pitch sequences at times in this game. Good moments from the freshman righty to this point. And has been fairly efficient as well. Brewer Webster flew out to right in the 3rd. Showed bunt, didn't go for it. Pitch misses for ball 1. Webster, a transfer from Salt Lake CC, hit .344 and drove in 36 runs for them last season. 1 ball, no strikes. And this one is in the air. Rios comes in, makes the grab. Quick inning for Matt Scott and a busy inning for Alberto Rios. 3 up, 3 down. 3-0 Stanford after 4.5. Braden Montgomery begins things for the Cardinal at the bottom of the 5th inning. He has an RBI single in the 1st. And Stanford has a 3-0 lead over Utah. Bryson Van Sickle still on the mound for the Utes. Swing and a miss by Montgomery for strike 1. Van Sickle through 4+ now with a couple of strikeouts. Or a couple of walks, check that. No strikeouts. Stanford has racked up 9 base hits against Van Sickle to this point. But just a couple of them of the extra base variety. Park an RBI double in the 2nd and Troy a double in the 4th. 1 ball and 1 strike to Montgomery. Fires a fastball, misses low, 2-1. Van Sickle ready again. With the 2-1 pitch. Montgomery reaches out, puts that one back to the screen, 2-2. Back on February 26th, Van Sickle struck out 8 in 5 innings of work against Texas A&M Corpus Christi and got the win that day. And this is his second start of the year. His other start came against San Francisco back on February 20th. That series played up at the Hilltop last month. 2-2. Just misses. 3-2 to Montgomery. Van Sickle started against the Dons. He actually got the loss on February 20th. Went 5. Gave up 2 runs, both earned. 5 strikeouts. Payoff pitch on the way to Montgomery. Just gets a piece of it. Utes, after this series, host USC in Salt Lake City. Then they'll head down to UCLA the weekend after that. 3 balls and 2 strikes from Van Sickle to Montgomery. Down the line, just bounces foul. Montgomery, the switch hitter, steps back in from the right side, facing the lefty Van Sickle. The 3-2 pitch. Popped up, ranging over, it's Webster. Backing up and hangs on to make the grab. So that brings up Malcolm Moore. Moore 2 for 2 today. Singled in the first, singled in the third. Moore, a 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of California. Went to McClatchy High School in Sacramento. A highly coveted recruit, much decorated in his prep career. Waits on the first pitch, dropped in there by Van Sickle for a called strike 1. Moore, a freshman, going through his first campaign on the collegiate level. Inside, diving stop, Kiernan shovels to first in time for the out. So 2 gone. Brings up Drew Bowser. If you're a fan of infield fielding, then you've come to the right place. Both teams have brought their gloves with them to this point in this contest, which is a bit of a newsflash for the Utes. They were last in team fielding percentage coming into this week's action in the Pac-12. 961. First pitch to Bowser, swing and a miss for strike 1. Bowser grounded into a double play to end the first and fouled out to first in the third. The 0-1. Thought about it, didn't go for it. Count evens out. 1 ball and 1 strike. I have a feeling that the series between Cal and Utah might be an important one for the Utes middle of next month in Salt Lake, based on the standings. Swing and a miss by Bowser. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Van Sickle ready and deals the 1-2. Got him. Swing and a miss, strike 3, and the Cardinal go down in order. 3-0 Stanford. 5 innings in the books here at Sunken. Start of the 6th inning here at Sunken Diamond in Utah and Stanford, with the Cardinal leading 3-0. Great to have you with us here on Pac-12.com and GoStanford.com. Troy Clarity here. Matt Scott needed just 6 pitches to set down the Utes. In the top of the 5th, begins the 6th inning at the top of the Utes order. Dakota Duffalo with a couple of strikeouts so far today. Duffalo 0 for 7 so far in this series. First pitch, high strike called by home plate umpire Joe Burleson for strike 1. Scott, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 3 base hits, allowed in 5+. Got a little help from Eddie Park, a running catch in center. This one's a looper going back. Haskins makes the catch for the first out. So Haskins able to back up and make the grab. Bring up Landon Fry, who is 0 for 2 so far today. Not much to this point for the Utes. Fry steps up. Face Scott. Center field, Eddie Park. Has it. 2-gun. Brings up TJ Clarkson. 0 for 2. Matt Scott has thrown 63 pitches now. 5 2/3 innings. There was action in the Utah bullpen in the last half inning, and it appears to be continuing now. First pitch high and outside to Clarkson for ball 1. So I'd imagine that perhaps Van Sickle's outing might be done. We'll find out for sure once this side is retired. This one has hit a mile high into right field, but staying well in the park as Montgomery backs up and makes the catch. A 6-pitch 5th inning, a 5-pitch 6th inning for Matt Scott. 3 up, 3 down. Stanford up 3-0. New pitcher for the Utes as we head to the bottom of the 6th inning, and Stanford leading 3-0. Cam Day replacing Bryson Van Sickle. Day is a sophomore from Layton, Utah. And Day about to make his 6th appearance of the year and his first in relief. A 2-3 record and 8.86 ERA. 21 in the third innings pitched, 39 hits, 23 runs, 21 of them earned, 27 strikeouts versus 14 walks. Opposing batters hitting .386 against Day with 3 wild pitches and 3 hit batters. Day had been the Friday starter for the Utes until this week. Now he's coming out of the bullpen as Gary Henderson looks to shake some things up. He deals a first pitch strike to Alberto Rios, who has walked twice, and that's the first strike that he's seen all day. And now the count 1-1. Bryson Van Sickle's numbers: 5 innings, 9 hits, 3 runs all earned, 2 walks, and 1 strikeout. That one gets the corner, 1-2. So after running into a spot or two in the first and second innings, Van Sickle able to settle things down, keep the Cardinal at bay. Cam Day, fastball upstairs, 2-2. As Gary Henderson still tries to find the pieces to his starting rotation puzzle. I don't think Van Sickle did anything today to necessarily play his way out of it as an option. Bounces all the way back to the backstop, and the count full. Payoff pitch to Rios. Crack to left. Base hit. So walk, single for Rios today. And that brings up Trevor Haskins. Haskins grounding into a double play in the second and flying out to right in the third. And Davis Kopp, the Utah catcher, getting on the same page with his new pitcher. Busy day here on the farm, at least in this corner of it anyway, in the Stanford Athletics portion of the campus. Stanford softball just next door, facing off against Oregon State. Last score I got from there, middle of the 6th, Stanford leading the Beavers 5-4. Cardinal going for the sweep. They began that series with a couple of run rule wins over the Beavers. So Stanford trying to break out the brooms on the Beavs. And of course, that was your super regional matchup last year. Trevor Haskins shows bunt, pulls it back. 1 ball and no strikes. Boy, it was neat to have the super regionals here in both sports, baseball and softball, especially in softball, right? Because it had been a while since they'd been on that stage. 1 ball, no strikes. Off the mound, coming in Flaherty, only played the first. Kieran handles it off the bounce. 1 away. Rios advances to second. Owen Cobb with the single and the run scored in the second, grounded out to third in the fourth in his last plate appearance. But it was especially neat to see the super regionals here for softball last year. Packed Smith Family Softball Stadium, great atmosphere, and well played, but tip of the cap to Oregon State, as they earned that win in that trip to Oklahoma City last year. Different results in that series in this go-around, as Stanford has already won the series. Now they're trying to get the sweep. How about to face the 1-0 pitch from Cam Day? Fastball right down the middle, 1-1. Of course, the rest of the campus fairly quiet this week. It's spring break for this week. Finals week is in the books. Hit to center field in front of Duffalo for a base hit. Coming around, Rios is in, and Owen Cobb does the job. RBI single makes it 4-0 Stanford. Pretty easy swing. Just plopped it down into center for the base hit. Keeps it going for Eddie Park. 2 for 3 so far today, with a single and a run scored, and an RBI double in the second. Gary Henderson making the walk. There is no action in the Utah bullpen. So this is just a chat to get Cam Day and perhaps get his mind right a little bit. But finals week was last week. It is done. This week is spring break for Stanford. And of course, finals week, a big deal here on this campus. And talking to David Esker about it, and he made sure to note when I talked with him about it heading into the series, he has to give the kids as much time as they need, as much space as they need during finals week. And so maybe partly as a result of that, sometimes he doesn't quite know what he's going to get out of his squad coming out of finals week. Academics, of course, is a big deal on this campus. It's, student athlete is a real life thing here at Stanford, but sometimes coming off of finals week, you just don't quite know what you're going to get and where the student athletes are going to be in a mental and psychological space. So he admitted that he wasn't quite sure where things were going to be. And maybe Stanford running into a bit of a wall at points yesterday before rousing back and getting the win over Utah. Henderson back to the dugout. And Eddie Park ready to go to work with the runner going, and this one is hit on a bounce to Kiernan, who steps on the bag for the out. So Cobb advances to second. 2 away for Tommy Troy. Troy with a single and a run scored in the first and doubled in the fourth. Later advanced over the third, but was stranded in the fourth inning. Coming across, but not catching the zone. Ball 1, Tommy Troy. One ball and no strikes. That was a fastball down low, 2-0. Of course, many athletic programs like to use their spring break to hit the road. You see it all the time in softball. A lot of tournaments played earlier in the month of March. Stanford on the quarter system, so their calendar falls a bit later in the year than anyone else who runs on semesters. So Stanford hopping on the plane later on this week and heading out to Oklahoma to face the Sooners. The 2-0 to Troy. Framed by Kopp, catches the corner, 2-1. That was textbook work by Kopp, as he appeared to be setting up a bit more on the outside of the plate. Framed it well, just on the corner. 2 balls and 1 strike. Inside, holds off, and the count goes to 3-1. So that should be intriguing. The Cardinal and the Sooners out in the 405 area code. Fouled off, count full to Troy. Let's see what the weather is going to be like this weekend. Perhaps maybe a bit stormy on Friday. And should be nice but windy over the weekend. High temperatures in the 70s in the Oklahoma City area. Norman about 20 miles south of there. So that's not bad for this time of year. Fouled off again. And out of Kiernan's range. Count remains at 3 balls and 2 strikes. Of course, spring can be very unpredictable weather-wise in Oklahoma. I always joke, in fact, that you get your 4 seasons back there: windy, stormy, steamy, and football. The 3-2 pitch to Troy. Hit in the air. Back to left. Going back Hamill. Track. Wall. And off the top of the fence. 1 run scores. A towering RBI double by Tommy Troy gives the Cardinal a 5-0 lead. Well, the only question there was whether it was going to stay in the park, and it did barely, as it hit maybe about 8 feet up. And Tommy Troy with his second double of the day. 12 base hits for the Cardinal so far this afternoon. Brings up Carter Graham. RBI ground out in the first, singled in the third. Off speeder goes over, called strike 1 to Graham. Cam Day got the start against Stanford in the series finale last year in Salt Lake. Didn't factor in the decision, but went 5 1/3. 4 runs, 3 of them earned. Swing and a miss. Graham down 0-2. Day actually became the Sunday starter last year. Was the Friday starter at the beginning of this season, but not in that role this week. 0-2. A little mini spin back to second. Where Tommy Troy is standing after his RBI double. Down low, 1-2. Carter Graham, a surprise from last year. When all was said and done, he was atop the Pac-12 leaderboard in home runs with 22. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Lined right to Kiernan, who makes the grab and gets the out. Stanford pushes across a couple more, though. Owen Cobb an RBI single, and Tommy Troy an RBI double. 5-0 Stanford after 6. Gorgeous Sunday afternoon here at Stanford, and the Cardinal with a 5-0 lead over Utah. Start of the 7th inning here on pac-12.com and gostanford.com. Hey there, hi there, ho there. Troy Clarity here, taking you through it. Hope you're having as much fun as we are. Jaden Kiernan's been having fun this weekend. He is 6 for 6. 4 for 4 yesterday. 2 for 2 so far today, with singles in the second and the fourth innings. Singled in the fourth, advanced to second on a wild pitch, advanced to third on another wild pitch, but was left there after Cameron Gurney went deep to center, but Eddie Park was able to make a running, reaching grab. First pitch bounces away from Moore, but no harm done. Ball 1 to Jaden Kiernan, who led Utah in RBI in 2020. A season that, of course, was truncated for clear reasons. 1 ball and no strikes. Off speed upstairs, 2-0. Matt Scott has now thrown 67 pitches today. Just 3 base hits, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. Has retired 7 in a row. And the appeal to first base umpire Greg Charles did not go around. 3-0 the count to Kiernan. Outside corner gets the call, 3-1. The 3-1 pitch to Kiernan. Off the fist, fouled back, 3-2. Kiernan's batting average has gone up 23 points so far just in this game alone. It was 370 coming in, 393 at this exact moment in time. Payoff pitch, fouled off again. It's Kiernan trying to battle. Overall, Kiernan's batting average has gone up 73 points. It was 320 entering this series. The 3-2 pitch from Scott. Fouled off again, as that one's a blister heading towards the former entry plaza. Back in the day, everyone entered the park on the right field side. Now the main entry plaza is right behind us, behind home plate. The 3-2 pitch, once again from Scott. Low, bounces away from Moore, and that is Scott's second walk of the afternoon. So the leadoff walk, only the second time that Utah has had the leadoff batter reach so far in this one. The other time it happened, in the second inning, with Kiernan singling. Davis Kopp singled in the second, walked in the fourth. Big moment for him this weekend so far was the 2-run homer in the left field trees to give Utah a 4-3 lead in the top of the 8th yesterday. A lead that the Utes could not hang on to as that ball was blocked by Moore. 1 ball, no strikes to Kopp. Kopp was all Pac-12 honorable mention last year. Facing the 1-0. Fastball just misses outside. 1-2. Check that, 2-0. The count to Kopp. Kiernan at first. Popped up, could be playable. Graham on the move, trying to find it, and does. So 1 away. Well, one of those instances where All the foul territory here at Sunken Diamond can be your friend, defensively, from a pitching standpoint as well. I feel like in many other ballparks on this level, that is into the stands, and we're going back to the plate with a 2-1 count on Kopp. But as it is, 1 out, and the DH Cameron Gurney stepping to the plate. Gurney hasn't had much luck so far, grounding into a 4-6-3 double play in the second, and then hitting the ball deep to center for Eddie Park. But Park with the grab to end the fourth. Drops a curve in there for strike one to Cameron Gurney. Gurney from Ontario, Canada, traded in his hockey skates for baseball cleats when he got to high school. He felt that he was getting better in baseball than he was in hockey. So here he is now on the baseball diamond. Low strike called, 0-2 to Gurney. No balls and 2 strikes. Freshman versus freshman. The pitch, a check swing, fouled off. I think when you're born north of the border, you have to have a hockey stick placed in your hand as soon as you come out the chute. I think that's how it works. It's like in Texas. As soon as you're born, they give you a football. No balls and 2 strikes. Fly ball to left, opposite field. Backing up is Rios and makes the catch just shy of the track, 2 away. Pinch hitter coming up for the Utes as Caden Carpenter comes to the plate for Utah. Carpenter, a freshman from American Fork, Utah. Batting .182 with 1 home run and 7 RBI on the season. Carpenter drove in 3 against Arizona State last Sunday. And he's a highly decorated player out of the state of Utah. Fastball high and outside for ball 1 from Scott. Carpenter, 3-time All-State first team, a 2-time Utah State champ in his high school senior season. He hit .413, and on the mound he went 8-2 and went 1.75 ERA. Hits this one sky high on the infield, and Bowser makes the catch for the 3rd out. Leadoff man reaches, but that's all for Utah as Stanford leads 5-0. Time to stand and stretch here at Sunken. Bottom of the 7th with Braden Montgomery striding to the plate, and Stanford with a 5-0 lead over the Utah Utes. Straight switch in left field with Caden Carpenter staying in left field, replacing Elijah Hamill. And the first pitch to Brave Montgomery from Cam Day misses low for ball one. Montgomery an RBI single in the first, fielder's choice in the third, popped up the second in the fifth. And fouls this one off, 1 ball, 1 strike. It has gone final next door at Boyd and Jill Smith Family Softball Stadium. Cardinals sweeping Oregon State in softball, 8-4 today's final. 7th-ranked Cardinal just keep right on motoring along. Impressive stuff for Jessica Allister and her crew. Count goes to 1-2 on Montgomery. Two and two now. So a terrific result once again for Stanford softball. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Smacked to right, base hit. Montgomery's second base hit of the day. The Pac-12 Freshman of the Year just keeps right on trucking. Well, Malcolm Moore has had a good rebound day after striking out 4 times yesterday. He has singled a couple of times so far today. Grounded back to first in his last plate appearance back in the 5th inning. Quick throw back over to first to keep Montgomery in close. First pitch to Moore. Fastball inside and a bit low as well. Ball 1. The 1-0 to Moore. That one catches the corner for called strike 1. Cam Day, the Utah pitcher, was the top-ranked recruit in the state of Utah for the class of 21. Outside 2-1. Gary Anderson has been able to recruit the state of Utah quite well so far in his stint as the head coach. Don't forget he was the associate head coach 2 years before. Throw back to first. Montgomery is safe. It's always important to keep your best talent close to home if you can. Moore thinks about it, doesn't go for it. Down low. 3-1 the count to Malcolm Moore, whom I guess you can consider a local product. I mean, Sacramento isn't that far away from here. Northern California. 3 balls and 1 strike. Montgomery going, but fouled off. Count goes to 3-2. Series finale tomorrow afternoon, 12:05 p.m. first pitch, Pacific time. 1:05 for our friends watching back in the 801 area code. And back to first again. Runner going again. Hit back up the middle. And the shovel to second got him there. The throw to first got them both. Close play at second. But Utah able to pull off the 4-6-3 double play. Their third 4-6-3 of this game. That was a bit of a close play. I was kind of surprised to see Webster try to shovel to get the lead runner at second. It worked. Drew Bowser looking for his first base hit of the afternoon. That one tails low and outside for ball 1. Webster might try to go to first with it instead. It all worked out for the Utes there. The 1-0. Right down the middle, 1 ball and 1 strike. That one smacked back up the middle and through for a base hit. Bowser's first base hit of the afternoon. Stanford's 14th. Alberto Rios has walked twice and singled. So officially 1 for 1 on the afternoon. Came around to score on an RBI single by Owen Cobb in the 6th. Fastball down low from Day for ball 1. On the outside corner, 1 ball, 1 strike. Very light breeze here at Sunken Diamond. In fact, the flags in center field hovering over the batting eye are still for the moment. 1-1. Tries the outside corner again, doesn't get it. 2-1. Still on the whole, temperatures below normal for this time of year here in the Bay Area. 2-1. This is low. 3-1. Rios walked on 4 pitches in his first 2 plate appearances this afternoon. And went to a full count before singling in the 6th. The 3-1. Thought about it. Goes over. Strike 2. So even though perhaps a bit cooler than it probably should be for this time of year, still perfectly pleasant here at the farm. 3-2 pitch fouled off. Bowser at first after singling. And the pitch with Bowser going, swing and a miss. Strike 3. 5-0. Stanford with the lead. 8th inning coming up in a moment. No runs, 3 hits, no errors for the Utes. 5 runs, 14 hits, no errors for the Cardinal. Matt Scott has been efficient, has dealt with the Utah Utes So far, the big right-hander out of Reading, Connecticut, working into the 8th inning now. As Matt Flaherty coming in, batting from the left side, as he does, will lead things off for the Utes. Flaherty 0 for 2, struck out in the 3rd, flew out to left in the 5th. First pitch from Scott. High fastball for ball 1. Scott with a 6-pitch 5th inning and a 5-pitch 6th inning. He deals the 1-0. Up and out, ball 2. There is action in the Stanford bullpen. It is a left-handed pitcher. The 2-0 pitch floated right down the middle, 2-1. Now, even with binoculars and with Stanford wearing their black tops with the dark red numerals, even with binoculars, I still can't quite make out whom it is, but it is a lefty. 2-1. Fastball outside, 3-1. Stanford, of course, famously wearing the black jerseys in that super regional a couple years ago at Texas Tech. It was, 106 degrees in Lubbock that day? Alex Williams said, no problem. The 3-1. Down low, ball 4. 3rd walk issued by Scott. And he has now walked the leadoff batter in back-to-back innings. Brings up Brewer Webster. Webster 0 for 2. Flew out to right in the 3rd, flew out to left in the 5th. Fastball pumped in there, catches the inside corner for a called strike 1. Scott with 4 strikeouts versus 3 walks so far in 7+ innings worth of work. Fastball called strike 2 to Webster. Flaherty at first. Flaherty 6 for 6 in stolen bases. Scott goes up high with it. Webster able to hold off. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The 1-2. Popped up, foul. Bowser gives it a run, but the ball lands behind the players standing at the wall that separates the Utah dugout area from the playing field. One ball and 2 strikes. And Scott steps off. Before his high school senior year, Matt Scott did not pick up a ball for 3 months. And he hit the weight room for 6 days a week instead. Count goes to 2-2. Said he didn't necessarily want to keep throwing, just wanted to get stronger. And it worked out for him in a big way. 2-2. Foul back to the screen. And I would imagine that in some ways as a pitcher, it goes against the very core and nature of your being to not throw a ball for 3 months. But Scott decided to use that time to get stronger and add to his imposing presence. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fastball low, count full. Just the 6th 3-ball count for Scott so far today by my count. The 3-2 fouled off. And landing off to my left. And we'll do it over again. Three balls and 2 strikes. Runner going, swing and a miss, strike 3. The throw to second, strike him out, throw him out. So 2 gone here in the 8th. And Thomas Eager heading out to the mound. And this could be all for Matt Scott's day based on the hug that Malcolm Moore, the Cardinal catcher, just gave him. It might very well be. So Webster caught stealing for the first time this season. 2-4. And Scott staying in. So with Scott staying in, looks like we're going to have a pinch hitter for Utah. Replacing Dakota Duffalo, it's Carson Bodley who comes in. So this is in the leadoff spot for the Utes. Bodley batting .059, no home runs and none driven in to this point in 17 at-bats so far this year. First pitch from Scott, fastball swing and a miss for strike 1. Bodley came into yesterday's game as a pinch hitter. The 0-1, Scott rears back, swing and a miss. A bit higher in the zone for strike 2. The 0-2 from Matt Scott. Tried to get the inside corner. 1-2. Boy, Bowser at third and Cobb at short. They took a couple steps toward the Stanford dugout. Scott himself was leaning in that direction too, and not just from his follow through. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The pitch. Now 2-2. That was Scott's 100th pitch of the day. His high coming into today was 93 against Oregon State. Took him 6 innings to reach that mark. 2-2. Fouled back. Already Scott's longest outing in his brief Stanford career. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Bodley. The pitch. Went around. Got him swinging. And Matt Scott closes out the 8th in emphatic fashion. Stanford 5, Utah nothing, and Matt Scott in control. Bottom of the 8th here at Sunken Diamond. Trevor Haskins striding to the plate. Stanford with a 5-0 lead. Utes have managed just 3 base hits off of Stanford starter Matt Scott. Haskins looking for his first base hit of the day. Fouls off the first pitch from Cam Day for strike 1. Utah with 3 base hits today. Tommy Troy with 3 base hits by himself. Outside corner called, 0-2. And 2 of those base hits for Utah by Jaden Kiernan, who also has a walk today as well. So he's 6 for 6 on the weekend. The 0-2 to Haskins. Fly ball, shallow right, now drifting into foul ground and making the snare. It's Kiernan for out number 1. Straight switch in center field, by the way. Carson Bodley stays in, replacing Dakota Duffalo in center. And I should correct myself. Bodley came in as a pinch runner in yesterday's game. Not as a pinch hitter, as a pinch runner. But Bodley now has appeared in both games of the series so far. Owen Cobb, 2 for 3. An RBI single and a couple of runs scored for the senior from Seattle. Prepped at Seattle Academy, but played baseball at Garfield High School. Fastball outside. 1 ball and 1 strike to Cobb. A 1-1. On a couple hops to Flaherty, who has handled his position well this weekend. Throws over the first in time for the out. Eddie Park was making a move to the box. He gets called back by David Esker as those two go over some final things over in the on-deck circle. Updating some scores around the Pac-12. Bottom 8th, Washington leads UCLA 11-10 down in Westwood. Oregon State breaking a tie in the 9th inning and beating Cal 2-1. So the Bears are in the bottom spot by themselves in the Pac-12. Beavers 2-1 winners there. And in the bottom of the 8th inning, USC leading Washington State 6-3. Arizona State will get going at the top of the hour down in Phoenix. I believe the Sun Devils are going to try for the sweep there of the Wildcats. Now that everyone's on the same page, Eddie Park can head to the batter's box and try to add on to the afternoon he has had. Singleton scored in the first, RBI double in the second. Fastball inside corner, called strike one. Day working quickly. And deals ball one, low and outside to Park. Goes breaking ball there, but misses. Not by much, though. 2-1. The count to Park. That one's called strike two. Park with 2 home runs this year. Had a streak of reaching base safely in 28 straight games snapped at USC a couple weeks ago. This one's hit opposite field and bounces in fair territory in front of Caden Carpenter. And now Park, with heads-up base running, takes second. So Park initially held up at first. Well, they would end up with an extra 90 feet. Stanford with a chance to maybe tack on another run or two. That brings up Tommy Troy after Park's second double of the day. So Eddie Park and Tommy Troy each have as many hits as Utah does in total. Strike one called to Troy. Troy with a couple of doubles himself to go along with a single. Towering RBI double by Tommy Troy in the 6th inning. Thinks about it, doesn't go for it, goes over for a called strike two. No balls and 2 strikes. Time called. As Davis Comp comes from behind the plate and Gary Henderson comes out of the Utah dugout. No action in the Utes bullpen. So final game of this series tomorrow afternoon. Again, that's a 12:05 p.m. first pitch that we'll have for you right here on pac-12.com and gostanford.com. After the trip to Oklahoma, it's Stanford versus Cal over in Berkeley next weekend. And that's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series with Easter Sunday, of course, that weekend. Then Texas Tech comes here. Boy, that'll be interesting. On April 10th and 11th, the rematch of that hotly contested, and I mean that both figuratively and literally, Super Regional in the 2021 season. Boy, that'll be fun. No balls and 2 strikes after the conference done. Tommy Troy at the plate. The pitch. High chopper handled by Fry. The long throw over the first in time for the out. Top of the 9th inning coming up in just a moment. Stanford trying to close out a 5-0 lead over the Utah Utes. Well, hats off to Matt Scott. 8 shutout innings, 3 hits, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts. As Stanford leads 5-0. We begin the top of the 9th inning. Matt Scott's afternoon is done. Ryan Bruno, the junior from Wellington, Florida, is on the mound now for the Cardinal. Bruno, about to make his 10th appearance of the year, has an ERA of 9, does have 2 saves to his credit. 9 innings pitched, 6 hits, 9 runs, all earned, 14 walks, 14 strikeouts. Opposing batters hitting 188 against Bruno. Has the arm talent. Can rear it up to about 97 miles an hour. We have seen that. Has had some problems hitting the strike zone at times this year. 6 wild pitches and has hit 3 batters so far this season. In his last outing against Oregon State last Saturday, Bruno threw an inning, gave up a hit, 2-run, both earned, walked 3 and struck out 1. So somewhat indicative of the season that Bruno has had so far. But keep throwing him out there. He's certainly proven his worth. And he was such a big reason for the Cardinals' run to the postseason last year. Certainly made a name for himself in those regional matchups against Texas State last season. Well, it comes down to the 2, 3, 4 hitters for Utah. Landon Fry, 0 for 3. TJ Clarkson, 0 for 3. Jaden Kiernan, 2 for 2. It starts with Fry, who watches a fastball go high from Bruno for ball 1. Fastball pumped right down the middle for strike 1. Fry 1 for 5 yesterday, 0 for 3 today. 1 ball and 1 strike from Bruno. Rears back. And it's high, 2-1. See a couple of radar guns out. Actually, I see a bunch of radar guns out now. The 2-1. Fastball right down the middle, 2-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. With Landon Fry, the batter, the pitch. Misses a little bit low, count goes full. A lot of radar guns out, and rightfully so. Bruno, a very intriguing potential prospect. Back during his high school days, the scouts liked his ability to attack hitters. Well, whether it hit Landon Fry or not, that's still going to be a free base for Fry. That one came inside. Called a walk. So 3rd straight inning that Utah has had the leadoff batter walk. They just haven't been able to get anything to result out of it. Clarkson 0 for 3. Throw back over to first. Bruno was even considered a top 3 round prospect 6 months before the 2020 draft. That's up high, ball 1. So certainly a lot of interest in the young man from Wellington, Florida, on the next level. 1 ball, no strikes. The pitch. Inside, 2-0. Hard throwing lefty. Deals the 2-0. That's high. Three and 0 with a guy who is 6 for 6 on the weekend in the on-deck circle. And Clarkson walks on 4 pitches. So back-to-back walks brings Thomas Eager out of the dugout. And especially considering the hot bat that Jaden Kiernan has had so far in the series, and even before this series. Driving in runs, all the runs that he's driven in so far this season have come in the last 3+ games. Check out 4+ games, I should say. So he's been swinging it quite well throughout the season, and that has carried over into this weekend. There is action in the Stanford pen, a left-hander warming up in the shadows. Stanford ahead 5-0, top ninth. Kiernan singled in the second, singled in the fourth, walked in the seventh. Two on and nobody out. Fastball's right down the middle, called strike one. The 0-1 pitch. Now 1-1. Kiernan drove in 37 runs last year. 1-1 strike. Goes opposite field, and it drops into Montgomery's glove for the first out. First time this weekend that Kiernan has come away from a plate appearance without getting on base. And for Stanford, it could not have come at a better time. Davis Kopp stepping up to the plate now. Kopp singled back in the second. Walked in the fourth. Fouled out to first in the seventh. Fastball right down the middle, strike one. Fry at second, Clarkson at first. Both of them walked. Fry made sure to stay put at second. Didn't want to test Braden Montgomery's arm. We've seen the highlights that he's put up. The 0-1, well high and outside, 1-1. I still can't believe that throw that Montgomery made in the Pac-12 tournament last year. That was just jaw-dropping. One and one. Gets away from Moore, but everyone stays. 2-1. Montgomery with his arm talent, placing himself right up with guys like Joe Borchert and John Elway. These great right fielders that put on a Stanford uniform. The 2-1. Inside, perhaps a little bit high as well, 3-1. Three and one. Walks him. Bases loaded. And Bruno not thrilled. Third walk of the inning. And they've gone back and they've called Landon Fry's plate appearance a hit by pitch. But it's still a hit by pitch and 2 walks. And that's going to cause a call to the bullpen for the Cardinal. With the lefty Cameron Gurney coming up. And Stanford turning to reinforcements in the bullpen. Cardinal lead 5-0, but the Utes have the bases loaded with 1 out. Stanford's new pitcher coming up in just a moment. Drew Dowd coming out of the bullpen and hoping to close things out for the Cardinal here. Stanford leads 5-0 in the top of the 9th inning. The third pitcher used by Stanford today. Dowd, the junior from Belmont, California, about to make his second appearance of this series. His 10th appearance overall. Does have 3 starts on the season. A 3-1 record and a 3.86 ERA. Does have a save. 18 2/3 innings pitched. 19 hits, 14 runs, just 8 of them earned, 11 walks, 18 strikeouts. Opposing batters hitting .264 against Dowd, who has thrown 1 wild pitch and hit 1 batter this year. Dowd came on in the 9th yesterday against the Utes and ended up getting the win, thanks to Drew Bowser's dramatics, the 2-run walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th inning. He's called on here to put out the fire. 1 out, top 9th, bases loaded. Landon Fry at third, he was hit by a pitch. TJ Clarkson at second, he walked. And Davis Kopp at first, he walked as well. With Dowd coming on to relieve Ryan Bruno, who unfortunately just couldn't quite find it today. And that could be a continuing subplot for the Cardinal as the season goes along. But here's Dowd, known for the curve. And coming out of the bullpen of late, a bit of a newer role for him, as he has been in the starting rotation, even entering this season. But now coming out of the bullpen. Cameron Gurney, 0 for 3. Hit into a 4-6-3 double play in the second. Was robbed of a potential extra base hit by Eddie Park in the 4th. And flew out to left in the 7th. It's Gurney. Steps in. Dowd, the lefty. Facing Gurney, the lefty. Fastball down low and blocked by Moore. Utah still with just only 3 base hits so far today. Best opportunity came in the 4th. They stranded 2. 1 ball, no strikes. Off the fist, bounces, throw to second for 1, throw back to first, safe. Gurney beats the throw. A run scores and the Utes are on the board. So no shutout for the Cardinal. And Utah still with a chance. As Fry scores. Clarkson now at third. Kopp erased at second. And Caden Carpenter, who came on to pinch hit for Elijah Hamill in the 7th, is at the plate. Ball 1 from Dowd, who's no stranger to coming in relief through 4 scoreless against UCLA a couple years ago. 1 ball, no strikes. Called strike 1. Carpenter, the freshman, trying to extend the game for the Utes. Upstairs, outside, 2-1. By the way, not only is it Pups at the Park Day again today, but kids get to run the bases after this one is done. So something for everyone. The dogs have to stay in the stands, though, for reasons that should be clear. The 2-1 from Dowd. Swing and a miss. Carpenter crossed up. Utes down to their final strike. Clarkson at third. Gurney at first. The 2-2 pitch from Dowd. Off speed, but misses high. Count full. Matt Flaherty on deck for Utah, should his services be needed. Payoff pitch on the way. Fouled off. Everyone goes back to their respective positions. Clarkson at third. Gurney at first. Payoff pitch. Gurney going right down the middle. Called strike 3. And that's your ball game. A gem by Matt Scott. And it finishes with a 5-1 final. Cardinal have won 5 in a row. Final totals: Utah 1 run, 3 hits, and no errors. Stanford with 5 runs, 15 hits, and no errors. Stanford is now 15-5 on the year, 6-2 in Pac-12 play. They've won 5 in a row. Utah falls to 10-13. They are now 2-6 in Pac-12 play, and they have dropped the first 2 games of this series. Stanford has won the series. They will try to go for the sweep tomorrow afternoon with a 12:05 p.m. first pitch. Stanford paced by the top of its lineup. Eddie Park with 3 hits, a couple of doubles, and an RBI double in the second. Tommy Troy with an RBI double in the 6th inning. He finished with 3 hits as well. But really the star of the show, Matt Scott. Masterful Scott. 8 innings, shutout ball, 3 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts in 102 pitches. He threw 62 strikes along the way. The freshman from Reading, Connecticut, getting the well-earned win and perhaps continuing to solidify his role as perhaps the new Saturday starter for the Stanford Cardinal. Stanford with runs early in this game. They got 2 in the first, 1 in the second. Had some opportunities, left them loaded in the third, but finally able to break through a little bit with 2 more in the 6th. Utah not able to score until the top half of the 9th inning when Ryan Bruno ran into trouble, but Drew Dowd able to strike out Caden Carpenter, looking to finish the game. Scott gets the win. He's now 4-0 on the season. Drew Dowd with his 2nd save of the season. So Dowd gets the win yesterday and the save today. And Bryson Van Sickle, who largely pitched well overall, but Stanford getting those early runs and not necessarily looking back from there. Van Sickle gets the loss. He falls to 2-2 on the season. Time of today's game, 2 hours and 41 minutes. We'll do it again tomorrow and see if Stanford can sweep the Utes. 12:05 p.m. first pitch here from Sunken Diamond. Probables for both teams, TBD at this point. One way to find out who's taking the bump, join us right back here on GoStanford.com and Pac-12.com. We'll start off at noon, and the first pitch at 12:05 p.m. Weather should not be a factor in tomorrow's game. That'll do it for us here from Sunken Diamond. On behalf of our terrific Pac-12.com broadcast crew, I'm Troy Clarity. Thank you so much for being with us here today. Once again, the final score: Stanford knocks off the Utes 5-1. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, and go Stanford.